Thanet Parkway station is a new station which opened on the 31st of July last year, 2023. As the name suggests, the premise of the station is for people to drive their car here, park up and get the train to visit other places on the Isle of Thanet or the other way around. It also serves the settlement of Cliff's End, and a little ways up from this new station lies an old station from 1908 to 1933 called Ebbsfleet and Cliff's End Halt. I'll be honest when I say that I'm not really much of a fan of this station. I don't quite like how it looks, the cladding alongside the platforms. I also find it ridiculous that at a major London station like London Bridge, ticket machines have never been updated to include the new station. Now, I never got around to visiting this station last year when it opened, but I'm here now for a walk along the coast in Kent. So starting off with the walk, we come down through the village of Cliff's End. Quite odd because there's not really a pavement down the main road, but it brings you to the water. And we're going to be heading across Pegswell Bay Country Park here, doing a loop around before then walking that way up the coast. Could easily miss this, but tucked away to the side of this road here, there's an old pillbox looking very overgrown. I'm gonna go see if there's a way to get in. I have found an entrance. This feels like one of the most forgotten pillboxes I've ever come across. I found a hide overlooking Pegwell Bay, but what I wanted to talk about was the good thing about Thanet Parkway station being open is that it allows easier access to this part of the coast. For example, before, you would have had to come all the way down here from Ramsgate and either loop back around or continue about 3 miles down the road towards Sandwich, because there's a Richborough power station, there's a lot of industry in the way, which wouldn't have been the most fun walk. So it's good that there's a new station here and you can start coast walks here now. After a couple of miles of looping around Pegwell Bay, made it back to the bottom of Cliff's End village, and the cliffs themselves await. Well, there's evidence that we are indeed in a place called Cliff's End with this magnificent village sign here. You may notice at the top seems to be a Viking ship. Well, it's right here. They do call this the Viking coast. I do think it's quite cool that there is a replica of a Viking ship here. Coming down from the Viking ship brings you out onto this old service road where there's a bridge which goes over the top of it. This is the old Ramsgate hovercraft port, and you used to be able to catch a boat from here over to France. Nowadays, of course, you go to Dover, but I think it's cool that this place is still here, hasn't been turned into anything, and you can just come down and access it and get towards the coast. You can't quite access the bridge anymore. I mean, there's a gap in the fence, but they have blocked it off. I suspect it's unsafe, but you could, if you wanted to, go up there. To be fair, it is worth doing for the views. You get to see the extensiveness of the site from up here and how it's been reclaimed by nature. And mentioning Dover, Ramsgate also has some white cliffs, it seems. We're getting nearer to them. We'll be up there soon. Ooh, that was a steep path up from Pegwell Bay, but this does now mean that I am on top of the cliffs. Fields to the left, coast to the right. This is the first good view I've had on top of the cliffs. You can see how far out the tide is here. And there's also a very big drop down. Got to be very careful when you're by the edge of cliffs. come into the village of Pegwell Bay now, and I'm cutting across Broadstairs Park, where underneath there's a busy road in a tunnel, kind of like the Devil's Punch Bowl. There's the road tunnel emerging out beside the water. We could get down there, but I think I'll stick to walking the path on top of the cliffs. It's not as busy as I thought though, that road. I mean, there's literally no cars on it. Just about make out Deal Pier far off in the distance down there. I love the juxtaposition between a really nice beach here and then just a huge industrial wasteland right beside it. Must be an old port or harbour of some kind, because I see a sign down there that talks about traffic with tickets and traffic without tickets. It's not yet reclaimed by nature as much as the old hoverport terminal though, which we saw. There's a very old lift here, which would have brought you down towards the harbour. I was wondering what this structure was. It's quite strange to go from a desolate port to a thriving harbour here in Ramsgate. And I've come to the very end of one of the arms of it, to the lighthouse, because of course I am. But it's a very kind of enclosed area, because there's not just this pier, but there's one on the other side as well. It seems to be some sort of restaurant or something on the other side. Feels like you're getting into the heart of Ramsgate now that you reach the Royal Harbour. Everything behind is just neglected and forgotten about. It's an intriguing building here, the Ramsgate Home for Smack Boys, founded in 1881. I like the arches as well of this wall. It's nicer than your standard, rather drab railway arches that you get. I've come away from the coast slightly because I noticed on the map that there seemed to be a Madeira Walk waterfall, but if this is it, it's not operational, which is kind of a shame. Oh well, back down to the coast I go then. What I didn't know about Ramsgate's harbour is that it's the only royal harbour in the country. It was declared so by King George IV, and this obelisk here is dedicated to him. However, what I did know about Ramsgate is that it was home to the largest wetherspoons, the Royal Victoria Pavilion. It is also a former concert hall. I feel like whilst I'm here I should take a peek inside. Well, it's definitely very grand. I wonder how long the walk to the toilet is. And at the back of the Royal Victoria Pavilion, it brings you out onto Ramsgate Beach. There's no one on it at all. I'm quite surprised by that, really. I'm not going to come all the way to Ramsgate to the beach and not at least put my feet in the sea. It would be wrong if I didn't do this. It's really cold though. I've never come to Ramsgate before. I've been Margate several times. In fact, I think the first trip out of London ever in my life, when I was like 3 months old, was to Margate. Never been Ramsgate though. I'm by the pier here for the harbour, where the waves are just crashing up against the wall. So where Margate Station is right by the coast, you come out and boom, you're right on the beach. Ramsgate Station is quite a considerable distance away through the town from the beach. It wasn't always like that though, because there used to be a separate station called Ramsgate Harbour, and this is the site of where it used to be. To get here, trains would come out of this, the Ramsgate tunnels, heading directly south rather than curving around to serve what is the current day Ramsgate Station. There's not really any proper railway terminuses in Kent, I guess, apart from the Sheerness branch line, because all of the trains just kind of loop back around, back towards London, even though they do terminate at stations like Ramsgate and Margate.
Welcome aboard this southeastern service to Ramsgate, calling at Thanet Parkway and Ramsgate.
This tunnel has not only seen life as a train tunnel, it was reused during World War II to shelter local citizens. And nowadays, it is open for you to visit. There's some priced tours that you can take. Upon leaving Ramsgate, you start to walk underneath these cliffs. But at this point, there is no other way up to the top. So the England coast path turns to the left here. That is going to be a big climb. Whew, well, I made it to the top. Well, it's worth it because you do get some great views from up here, looking back along the coast. The endless blue sea. It's quite epic to witness, really. And also at low tide, I'm wondering if it is possible to walk beneath the cliffs, but yeah, I haven't risked it. Dumpton Gap. This is where I get the chance to get back down to the bottom of the cliffs, but seems like there's work taking place. I mean, he's on the beach, but now I'm slightly worried that I might not be able to walk that path. Well, it seems like I'm okay to walk along the beach instead, which is nice to do in the evening sun. Let's get away from the working noise though. Now, if given the choice, I do like to be beneath a cliff rather than on top. Even though the views are better up there, I just find a cliff to be very imposing when you're beneath it, and also you do get access to the beach, to the coast. Being down here has reminded me of a different coastal walk I did from Brighton to Newhaven, where a lot of the time on that walk you get the choice on whether you want to walk on top or at the bottom, and for the majority I chose the bottom. Interesting turn of events. I got very confused when I looked at my phone a moment ago because the time had changed to be 1 hour ahead, and it said something about like home data roaming or something. I think my phone thinks I'm in France. I think because I'm so close to the coast, somehow it's thinking I've gone to a different country, a different time zone. I don't know how that's happened. The appropriately named Viking Bay here in Broadstairs, and the end of my coastal walk in Kent. That was not my first time walking that section of the coast from Dumpton Gap here to Broadstairs. About 4 years ago in the summer 2020, I made a trip where I travelled to all of the southeastern stations that I have never stopped at by train before. I had come in via Maidstone and Ashford to Broadstairs, walked the coast to Dumpton Park station, and then went down to Folkestone. I then spent the evening there and headed back via Ashford again towards London. My last southeastern station was Marden, by the way, until of course today, and it's now Thanet Parkway. But it's good to come back and see Broadstairs again, and I would like at some point in the future to perhaps continue the Kent coastal walk up towards Margate. For now though, I'm going to head back towards the station. With Ramsgate, it's a bit of a distance away from the coast. Broadstairs is as well, but perhaps not as much. So, got to say goodbye to the beach. Before I jump on the train back to London, I wanted to have a quick look at this. An old water tower, Crampton Tower from 1859. Nowadays, it's been turned into a museum that conveniently, considering it's right beside the railway, houses a lot of train and railway paraphernalia.